Day 3 in this new life, and I was finally meeting my fiancée, an ice queen, a billionaire CEO, and, according to the novel I was now trapped in, the woman I was destined to simp for until I had nothing left. I looked at the face across from me, a face so cold it could give you frostbite, and all I wanted was to call this whole thing off and go home to my glorious new life of doing absolutely nothing. She's beautiful, no doubt, but she's a stone-cold workaholic. Whoever marries her is hitting the jackpot of bad luck. Come on, let's get this over with. I've got a raid scheduled with the guys in an hour. I picked up my espresso, ready to deliver the line I'd been rehearsing. Let's call off the engagement. Across the table, the Ice Queen, a woman famous for her unshakable composure, flinched. The sterling silver spoon in her hand clattered in her cup. My name is Ethan Vance. 3 days ago, I was just another corporate drone, grinding away in the 9-to-5 purgatory. My only escape was a cheesy web novel called Billionaire Dragon's Vengeance. Then I woke up here. I'd been reborn as a side character with the same name, a useless trust fund brat who was handsome, rich, and nothing else. My family, in a classic dynastic merger, had arranged my marriage to the novel's second female lead, the brilliant, gorgeous, and emotionally unavailable Aurora Sterling. In the book, the original Ethan pathetically throws himself at Aurora, only to get crushed by the main character, bankrupting his family in the process. A truly tragic ending. Me, I just want to chill. So, on day 3, I took the initiative and asked Aurora to meet me at the sleek cafe in the lobby of her corporate headquarters. I had one goal: break up. I size her up, a bespoke designer suit that did incredible things for her curves. Her hair was pulled back in a severe, elegant bun, revealing the long, pale line of her neck. Her face was so perfect, it looked like it was generated by an AI, but her expression was colder than a Siberian winter. Damn, you can tell she's worth billions. That aura, that face, it's unreal. Too bad she's a machine. The book said she'd skip meals for meetings until she gave herself an ulcer. Marrying her would be like marrying your work laptop, one that might give you hypothermia. Hard pass. Just get it done. Go home. Fire up the new gaming rig. Maybe try to master French cuisine, distill some small batch whiskey. That's the life. I cleared my throat, pasting on a polite, corporate smile as I lifted my cup. I was about to speak. Ms. Sterling, I think we. Clang. The sharp sound cut me off. The silver spoon fell from Aurora's hand, right into her pristine white porcelain cup, sending a ripple of brown liquid splashing onto the saucer. For the first time, a crack appeared in her flawless, glacial facade. A flicker of sheer bewilderment crossed her eyes. She was staring at me, not just looking, but staring like she was trying to decipher a complex code written on my face. Huh? Did I scare her? No way. Maybe my new face is so ridiculously handsome, it's short-circuiting her brain. I subconsciously touched my cheek. I had to admit this body was top tier. 8-pack abs, a jawline that could cut glass, and the face of a young Brad Pitt. Aurora's expression grew even stranger. It was a cocktail of shock, disbelief, and a hint of absurdity. She took a deep breath, the Ice Queen mask snapping back into place. Mr. Vance, she said, her voice as cool and crisp as her appearance. You asked for this meeting. For what purpose? Here we go. Showtime. Ms. Sterling, the engagement between our families was arranged by our parents. However, I don't believe matters of the heart should be forced. We have no emotional foundation, and therefore, I hadn't even finished my sentence. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. You go your way, I'll go mine. You keep being the CEO workbot. I'll go be a professional slacker. We walk away, no harm, no foul. Perfect, right? Aurora's breathing hitched. I saw the knuckles of the hand she had resting on the table tighten, turning white. I frowned. This wasn't right. According to the book, she despised this useless playboy fiancé of hers. She should be jumping at the chance to get rid of me. What was with this reaction? Ethan, she said suddenly, using my full name. Her voice was even colder than before. Do you think this marriage is a joke? Lady, what part are you playing? You want out of this even more than I do. Are you just pissed that I'm the one breaking it off first? Is your CEO ego that fragile? Women. Go figure. Fine, I'll get her now. My expression instantly shifted to one of deep, tragic sincerity. My inner actor took the stage. Aurora, that's not what I mean. It's just, I don't deserve you. You're so brilliant, so radiant, and I'm just a good-for-nothing playboy. I can't bear the thought of holding you back. I even try to squeeze my eyes a little, aiming for a hint of mournful atmosphere. Come on, take the bait. Tell me I'm right, that I'm a worthless loser, that we can tear up the prenup and we're both free. Win-win. As Aurora watched my heartfelt performance, the corner of her mouth twitched almost imperceptibly. Her expression grew more complicated, as if she were observing a rare and fascinating new species of clown. Silence. The silence was so awkward it felt thick enough to chew. Just as I thought she was about to explode, she slowly raised her coffee cup to her lips and took a sip. The movement was elegant, but I could feel the barely restrained force behind it. Then, she looked at me with those beautiful, piercing eyes and said, enunciating each word with chilling precision, I'm not calling it off. I blinked. Question mark? That's not in the script. Lady, did you get the wrong playbook? If you don't call it off, how am I supposed to start my glorious life of retirement? My mind was a screaming vortex of chaos, but my face held a complex mask of shock mixed with a flicker of feigned delight. Aurora Sterling, what the hell are you playing at? Why? The word escaped my lips, my shock 100% genuine. Aurora set her cup down with a soft click that grated on my nerves. Our family's merger is tied to a multi-billion-dollar joint venture. Do you honestly think no emotional foundation is a realistic reason to cancel it? She asked coldly. Crap, I forgot about that part. It's a corporate alliance, a deal sealed with a marriage. So what now? I actually have to marry this iceberg? My dream of doing nothing will be ruined. No way. Absolutely not. Okay, new plan. If I can't break it off, I'll make her do it. In the book, she hates worthless, spoiled brats, right? Fine. I'll become the most obnoxious, useless playboy she's ever seen. I'll make her so disgusted she'll tear up the contract herself. In an instant, my mind concocted 99 ways to make her hate me. Starting now, I leaned back, slumping into the plush cafe armchair. I crossed one leg over the other and gave her a lazy, dismissive once-over, my eyes dripping with arrogance. So it's all about the money. Fine, whatever. Guess I can't complain too much. Marrying a woman as gorgeous as you isn't a total loss. I deliberately emphasized the word gorgeous, my tone oozing the kind of casual disrespect a trust fund brat would have for a woman. Come on, despise me. Give me that death stare that could freeze hell over. Tell me I'm shallow. Tell me I'm a lost cause. I watched her, my heart filled with anticipation. But once again, Aurora's reaction was completely off script. There was no scorn, no anger. She just watched me, and in the depths of her cool eyes I could have sworn. Was that a flicker of a smile? Did I imagine that? Can ice queens even smile? Oh, just gorgeous? She asked slowly, as if she were genuinely curious about my assessment. What else? Your sparkling personality? You walk around with a face that looks like someone owes you $1 million. Your body's a knockout, though. The curves are all in the right places. The legs go on for days. Whoa, easy, Ethan. Don't go there. You're starting to get hot under the collar. The very instant that thought crossed my mind. Cough. Cough, cough. Aurora, who had just taken a sip of coffee, sprayed it out in a fine mist. She broke into a violent coughing fit, a deep, unnatural blush spreading across her perpetually pale cheeks. A nearby waiter rushed over alarmed. Ms. Sterling, are you all right? I'm fine, she managed to gasp, waving him away. She took the offered napkins and dabbed at her lips, her movements clumsy for the first time. As she wiped her mouth, she shot me a furious glare from the corner of her eye. It was a look of 3 parts embarrassment and 7 parts rage. I feigned an expression of pure innocence. What's her problem? You can choke just for drinking coffee? This CEO's basic life skills are seriously lacking. Whoever marries her is going to have to be a full-time caretaker. Tragic. So tragic. Aurora's hand froze, the napkin in her fist nearly shredded to pieces. She took a breath, then another. It took a monumental effort for her to regain her composure. Ethan, she said, her head snapping up, her gaze sharper than ever before. The engagement stands. That's final. I have a meeting. I'm leaving. With that, she stood, and without another glance, strode away on her killer heels. But for some reason, her retreating back looked less like a powerful exit and more like a hasty escape. I watched her disappear through the glass doors, lost in thought. This entire situation had spun completely out of my control. This Aurora Sterling was weird. Well, my initial plan failed, but the mission continues. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. "Hey, Marcus." A crisp, respectful voice came through the line. "Mr. Vance, how can I help you?" Marcus Kane, the all-purpose assistant my new father had assigned to me, and my number one guy. In the book, he was a business prodigy who backed the wrong horse and ended up ruined. But now he was my guy. "I need you to do 3 things for me," I said, my voice lazy. "First, buy up that abandoned warehouse district on the west side. Second, start shorting Thorn Industries stock. Third, find out why Aurora Sterling was acting so damn strange today. The city is going to announce a new tech development zone on the west side next month. That land's value will skyrocket 100-fold. Thorn Industries, that's Bradley Thorn's family company, the guy who's been chasing Aurora for years. They're in the middle of an overseas acquisition that's actually a trap. In 3 days, the whole thing will blow up and their stock will tank. Perfect time to buy the dip and make some pocket change. As for Aurora, that woman is a puzzle. I need to figure her out." I lay back on the plush chair, delegating my way to riches with just a few words. This was the life I wanted. Let my capable people handle the details while I steer the ship from a comfortable distance. Perfect. After hanging up, I stretched, humming a tune as I prepared to head home. I had no idea that in her penthouse office, the supposedly composed Aurora Sterling was standing in front of her floor-to-ceiling windows, her mind in utter chaos. My outrageous inner monologue was still echoing in her head. The West Side Warehouse District, the Thorn acquisition. As a business genius herself, she knew exactly what that kind of intel meant. If my thoughts were real, then Ethan Vance was no spoiled playboy. He was a master strategist, a reclusive genius who could predict market shifts with terrifying accuracy, his entire worthless persona. It was all an act, but why? Why would he pretend? And then Aurora's cheeks began to burn again. She remembered my mental evaluation of her figure. That bastard. That pig, but why was it that when he thought don't go there, you're starting to get hot under the collar? She didn't feel offended at all. In fact, her heart had skipped a beat. Aurora pressed her hands to her burning face, questioning her own sanity for the first time. Was there something wrong with her? For the next few days, I fully committed to my role as a professional slacker. I'd wake up whenever I felt like it, hit the gym in the afternoon, and spend my evenings gaming with friends, all while having my private chef try to master the entire French Laundry cookbook. Life was good. As for the engagement, I wasn't worried. Aurora was a workaholic. She'd probably forgotten all about me by now. Eventually, she'd remember she was engaged to a hopeless case and come to me to call it off. This afternoon, I was in my home gym, a space that would make an equinox jealous, getting a good sweat on. 8-pack abs, chiseled lines. Sweat dripped down my defined muscles. It was pure testosterone. Not bad. This body's got a great foundation. A little work, and it's already paying off. Gotta keep this up. A man's gotta have the right tools to enjoy the good life, after all. I was admiring my reflection when the gym door suddenly swung open. I turned and froze. Standing in the doorway was Aurora Sterling. She'd traded her cold corporate armor for a cream-colored sundress. Her hair was down, falling softly over her shoulders, and she wore just a touch of makeup. She looked less like a predator and more gentle. Holy crap, what's she doing here? And dressed like that? Did she have a personality transplant? I gotta say though, without the power suit, she's much more of a woman. That dress really shows off her figure. Ahem, avert your eyes, Ethan. Be a gentleman. Aurora stood at the door, her gaze falling on my bare, sweat-glistening torso. The tips of her ears turned a delicate shade of pink. Her eyes lingered on my chiseled abs for a full 3 seconds. Then, as if she'd been burned, she quickly looked away and cleared her throat. I came to see you, she said. Her voice was still cool, but if you listened closely, you could hear a slight tremor of unease. I grabbed a towel, wiped the sweat from my face, and threw on a tank top before walking over. See me? Does the great CEO have this much free time? No meetings to run? I asked, my tone deliberately teasing. This has got to be a trap. I wonder what kind of game she's playing now. Aurora's eye twitched. She produced an elegant thermal container from behind her back and held it out to me. Last time, you choked on your coffee. I figured you don't eat properly. I had my housekeeper make some soup for you. 2. Build up your strength. I stared at the container, my eyes wide. Soup? For me? To build up my strength? Has health frozen over? The Ice Queen is personally delivering homemade soup? This isn't in the script. In the book, she wouldn't even give me the time of day. Wait a minute. This isn't poisoned, is it? Is she trying to kill me so she can inherit my... Wait, she's richer than I am. Aurora's hand, holding the container, was frozen in midair. Her face cycled through shades of red and white. It was quite the show. Finally, as if she couldn't take it anymore, she slammed the container down on a nearby table with a loud thud. Eat it or don't. She spun around and started to walk away. Hey, she's mad already? It was just a joke. But you know, she's kind of cute when she's angry. That thought had barely formed in my mind. Aurora, who had already reached the door, stopped dead in her tracks. Her back was rigid. Even the tips of her ears were bright pink. She didn't turn around, but her voice, muffled, floated back to me. The soup isn't poisoned. It has mushrooms and wild rice in it, the way you like. Eat it while it's hot. Then, as if fleeing, she hurried away. I stood there completely stunned. How did she know I liked mushrooms and wild rice? I hadn't told a single soul since I got here. A terrifying thought began to form in my mind. Could it be? I immediately called Marcus. Mr. Vance. Marcus, that investigation on Aurora Sterling. Any results? Yes. Marcus's voice sounded a little strange. Ms. Sterling has been acting unusually. She vetoed the collaboration with Thorn Industries. Instead, she mobilized a large amount of capital and, moving before us, acquired that West Side property herself. I stood there, speechless. She stole my land deal? How did she know that property value was going to explode? And Thorn Industries. She knew their deal was going to blow up too. The timing. It was right after I thought about it in the cafe. The soup. Knowing what I like to eat. The clues started clicking together, pointing to one unbelievable conclusion. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I looked at the steaming thermal container on the table, then thought back to all of Aurora's bizarre behavior today. That woman, don't tell me. She can hear my thoughts. The absurdity of the idea made my head spin. Mind reading. That was even more ridiculous than me being reincarnated into a novel. I had to test this. The next day, I sent Aurora a text. Free for dinner tonight? Huh, little Miss Mind Reader. Let's see if I can't expose you today. Less than a minute later, a reply came. A single word. Yes. It was followed by an address for a new, notoriously exclusive private kitchen. I looked at the address and smiled. Well, looks like she really can hear me. The signature dish at this place is a 7-day dry-aged tomahawk steak. I was just telling Marcus last night I was craving one. And just like that, she's arranged it. That evening, I pulled up to the restaurant in my flashy Lamborghini. Aurora was already in the private dining room. She was wearing a long black dress that made her skin look like porcelain and amplified her regal air. When she saw me, the frost on her face seemed to thaw ever so slightly. You're here. Yep, I nodded, taking the seat across from her and preparing for my performance. I looked at the exquisite dishes on the table and let my inner food critic run wild. This tomahawk steak looks impressive, but they rushed the rendering of the fat cap. And the crust. It's a bit uneven. A rookie mistake. Across from me, Aurora's hand, holding her water glass, paused for a fraction of a second. The lobster risotto. The lobster is fresh, definitely. But the arborio rice is slightly overcooked. It's lost its bite. And did they use pre-grated Parmesan? Sacrilege. Aurora's brow furrowed, almost imperceptibly. And this deconstructed tiramisu for dessert. The presentation is nice, but the flavor is off. They use brandy instead of rum for the ladyfingers. It completely throws off the balance. Amateurs. Clack. Aurora placed her fork down on the rest with a soft, deliberate sound. She lifted her head, her cool gaze locking onto mine. Ethan, if you're not satisfied with the food, we can go somewhere else. I was ecstatic on the inside, but my face was a mask of confusion. What? No, it's great. You're treating Ms. Sterling. Even a bowl of plain rice would taste amazing. Sheesh, can't take a little criticism? The food is objectively flawed. Even a semi-pro like me can tell. And this place calls itself a top-tier private kitchen. My own home-distilled Applejack is better than this wine, and it would pair perfectly with the salt crust chicken I make. Now that the meal, Aurora's complexion shifted from pale to flushed, then back to pale again. She stared at me, her chest rising and falling rapidly. I pretended not to notice, casually taking a bite of the risotto. Delicious, Aurora. She felt like she was about to have a heart attack. This man, he was mentally tearing apart the restaurant she had pulled countless strings to book, yet he was putting on a show of pure enjoyment. He was doing this on purpose. And another thing, Applejack, salt crust chicken, a pampered rich boy like him knows how to do that. Aurora's mind was a whirlwind of my thoughts, each one shattering her perception of me. She realized she couldn't enjoy a single bite of this meal. And me, watching her struggle to keep her composure, I was having the time of my life. So you won't call off the engagement. So you can read my mind. Let's see how you handle a full-blown psychic assault. Just then, the door to our room slid open. A girl in a white sundress, with a sweet face and a friendly, girl-next-door vibe, walked in. Sorry, I'm late. Oh, Ethan, you're here too. The girl's eyes lit up when she saw me, and she hurried over. I looked up and froze. Chloe Miller, one of the main heroines from the novel, a sweet, angelic girl who was a fan favorite in the hero's harem. What was she doing here? I knew Chloe was Aurora's cousin. I just hadn't expected to run into her like this. Chloe, what are you doing here? Aurora's frosty expression softened a bit, but her tone was still less than warm. You didn't tell me you got a reservation here, or, that's so not fair. Chloe said with a playful pout, then naturally slid into the empty seat next to me. A faint scent of gardenias washed over me as she sat down. Ethan, long time no see. You've gotten even more handsome. Chloe's bright, sparkling eyes were fixed on me, full of genuine admiration. Wow, so this is the heroine effect. She really is an angel. Sweet, cute, and knows how to give a compliment. Way better than the iceberg next to me. I thought to myself, feeling pretty pleased. Across the table, Aurora's face instantly refroze. Colder than before. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. I quickly reined in my thoughts and offered a polite smile. You're exaggerating, Chloe. No, I'm not. Chloe leaned in closer, whispering conspiratorially. Ethan, my mom told me you and my cousin are engaged. Congratulations. Her eyes curved into crescents. She seemed genuinely happy for us. Before I could say anything, congratulations for what? I'm trying to get out of this mess. Your cousin is stuck to me like super glue, and it's driving me crazy. Ahem. Aurora let out a loud, sharp cough, cutting off my internal monologue. She shot me a cold glare, a warning so intense it was practically a physical force. Chloe, startled by her cousin's reaction, stuck out her tongue and fell silent. The atmosphere turned awkward. Chloe, ever the cheerful one, tried to salvage the conversation. Aura, I heard your company snagged that West Side development property. You're amazing. Nobody thought the city would build the new tech hub there. Aurora gave a non-committal but her gaze drifted involuntarily toward me. Amazing my ass. That was my genius idea, thought up from the comfort of my sofa. If she couldn't read my mind and steal my plan, I'd be the one rolling in the dough right now. But whatever, it's all in the family. Wait, what family? This marriage has to end. I fumed internally. Aurora's knuckles turned white as she gripped her water glass. She took a deep breath, clearly trying to suppress something. Chloe, oblivious to the undercurrents, continued to gaze at her cousin with admiration. And Thorn Industries. I heard their overseas deal was a total disaster. Their stock is worthless now. It's a good thing you pulled out your partnership with them, or they would have dragged you down too. Aura, your business instincts are scary good. At this, a faint blush crept up Aurora's cheeks. Her eyes, full of a complex emotion I couldn't decipher, landed on me. It was a look that seemed to say, this was all because of you. I felt a little uncomfortable under her stare and pretended to be engrossed in my tea. Why are you looking at me? You want to take credit for this too? If it wasn't for me, you'd probably still be getting played by that idiot Bradley Thorne. Speaking of which, Thorne was pretty dedicated, chasing Aurora for all those years. Too bad he's an idiot. Got used as a pawn and didn't even know it. Just as I was musing on this, the door to our room was kicked open with a loud bang. A man in a designer suit, his face pale and his eyes bloodshot, stormed in. Aurora Sterling. He looked like a cornered animal, his furious gaze locked on Aurora before shifting to me, filled with venomous hatred and jealousy. So, now I get it. You rejected me. You canceled our contracts. It was all because of this pretty boy. Aurora, what does he have that I don't? Bradley Thorne pointed a shaking finger at my nose, his voice a hysterical roar. Me? Dude, are you confused? I'm the one who wants her to run off with you. Also, don't point at me. It's rude. Chloe yelped, her face pale, and scrambled to hide behind me. Aurora shot to her feet, her face a mask of glacial fury. Bradley, have you lost your mind? Lost my mind? My company is bankrupt, and it's all because of you. Because of him. Bradley, completely unhinged, lunged toward me, his eyes red with rage. Ethan Vance, I'll kill you. I didn't even move from my chair. This is it. His form is sloppy. His foundation is unstable. He's wide open. Marcus should be here by now, right? I can't be bothered to deal with this myself. It's beneath me. Just as Bradley's fist was about to connect with my face, a black shadow blurred past. Marcus Kane, my omnipotent assistant, had appeared in the room out of nowhere. With just one hand, he effortlessly caught Bradley's punch. Mr. Thorne, I suggest you calm down, Marcus said, his voice flat, but the pressure he applied to Bradley's fist made his face twist in pain. Ack, let go. Let me go. Marcus, expressionless, dragged Bradley out of the room like he was taking out the trash. The entire incident took less than 10 seconds. The room fell into a dead silence. Chloe peeked out from behind me, her big eyes sparkling with hero worship. Ethan, you were so cool. You weren't scared at all. I just smiled, a master of understated badassery. Of course, plan for every contingency. A little scene like this? Please, barely an inconvenience. Across from me, the way Aurora looked at me had completely changed. It was a mixture of shock, curiosity, and a glimmer of something she herself probably didn't recognize. A light called admiration. For the first time, she realized that the fiancé she had always dismissed as a worthless playboy was wrapped in a fog of mystery she couldn't penetrate. After Bradley was dragged away, the mood for dinner was officially dead. Chloe was still caught in a mix of lingering fear and bubbly admiration, her wide eyes glued to me. Ethan, your assistant is so cool. Where did you find a guy like that? Oh, just hired him. I said, my tone breezy. Are you kidding me? Marcus was handpicked from over 100 retired Special Forces operators. The man can manage a billion-dollar portfolio and take down 10 guys at once. He's a one-man army. Of course he's cool. I stuck a glance at Aurora. Sure enough, her ears twitched. She'd heard every word of my inner monologue. Her gaze grew even more intense, as if she were reevaluating a priceless, newly discovered artifact. I'll take you home, Aurora said suddenly, speaking to Chloe. Oh, okay. Chloe, though she clearly wanted to stay and talk to me more, saw the non-negotiable look in her cousin's eyes and nodded obediently. Before she left, she gave me a little wave and mouthed, "Talk later." I smiled and nodded back. Such a sweet girl. Too bad she's one of the heroines of a novel. A side character like me has no business getting involved. Aurora's footsteps faltered for a second. After they left, I lazily got up, ready to head home myself. I had just stepped out of the room when I saw Marcus waiting for me at the end of the hall. Mr. Vance, it's been handled. Good. What about Thorne? As per your instructions, he's been sent to oversee a project at our most remote cobalt mine in the Congo. 10-year contract, room and board included. Marcus reported, his face impassive. I nodded, satisfied. You dare to point your finger at me and threaten me? A 10-year African vacation is getting off easy. I was about to get in my car when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Aurora. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Sterling Industries board meeting. You will be there. The tone was a command, not a request. I frowned. Again? Is she addicted to this? Trying to use me as her personal psychic cheat sheet. Every day? No way. How about plans to go fishing tomorrow? I'm busy. With that thought, my fingers typed out a 2-word reply. I'm busy. The message sent. Radio silence. Aurora didn't reply. Fine by me. I cranked up the music in my Lamborghini, enjoying the night air as I drove home. The next morning, I was up bright and early. I slipped into some comfortable clothes, grabbed my custom-made $1,000 carbon fiber fishing rod and drove my G-Wagon out to a private lake upstate. The sun was warm. The breeze was gentle. I kicked back in a lounge chair, my line in the water, sunglasses on, sipping an ice-cold Arnold Palmer. I was so relaxed I could have fallen asleep. This was the life. Board meetings, corporate power struggles. They could all go to hell. Just as I was drifting off, the sharp, hurried sound of high heels on the wooden dock approached. I didn't even open my eyes. Who's making all that racket? Don't they know this is a place of peace and quiet? A familiar, cool fragrance washed over me. Then, a slender but strong hand plucked the sunglasses from my face. The sudden bright light made me squint. I looked up into the furious, beautiful face of Aurora Sterling. She was dressed in a sharp, white power suit, her hair perfectly coiffed, her makeup flawless. She radiated an aura of pure, undiluted rage. Ethan Vance, she bit out my name. I opened my eyes lazily, feigning innocence. Well, Ms. Sterling, what brings you out here? Fancy a bit of fishing? She knows I'm messing with her. Huh. Seeing her all flustered like this is actually kind of fun. Aurora's chest heaved. She was clearly struggling to contain her anger. I texted you. Why did you say you were busy? Because I am busy, I said, gesturing with my chin toward my fishing rod. As you can see, I have an appointment with a largemouth bass. Aurora. She was rendered speechless by my shameless, matter-of-fact excuse. She took a deep breath, fighting for control. The board meeting is about to start. All the shareholders are waiting for you. You have to come back with me. Nope. I put my sunglasses back on and leaned back. Meetings are boring. Fishing is fun. Today's agenda is just going to be a pointless argument about getting into the electric vehicle market. The old fossils on the board will all vote against it, saying it's too risky. What's there to even discuss? Just acquire that failing startup, Volt Motor. Their battery tech is 5 years ahead of the competition. They're just out of cash. Buy them out, rebrand as Starlight Automotive, hire the best designers for the body, and you could be on the market by next year. You dominate the industry within 3 years. Sigh. It's so simple, but those suits will never get it. Sitting in a meeting with them would be a complete waste of a perfectly good nap. I finished my mental strategy session, closed my eyes, and prepared to drift off. Aurora stood beside me, silent for a long moment. I thought she had given up and left. But instead, she suddenly leaned down close to my ear, her voice a low, deliberate whisper that only I could hear. Volt Motor, she said. Starlight Automotive? My entire body went rigid. My eyes snapped open. I shot up from the chair. I stared at Aurora, my heart hammering against my ribs. She had just repeated my entire secret plan out loud. This wasn't just hearing. This was quoting. It's over. Game over. I was 100% confirmed. I looked into her cool eyes, which now held a spark of cunning and triumph, like a cat that had finally caught the canary. For the first time, my mind was in a state of pure panic. Oh, crap. She can really hear me. She knows everything. All the times I cursed her out in my head, my thoughts about her figure. Did she hear all of that too? At that thought, a hot blush crept up my neck, spreading across my entire face. In 2 lifetimes, I had never been this embarrassed. Aurora watched my mortified reaction, and the corners of her tightly controlled lips finally curved upwards into a tiny, victorious smile. It was gone in an instant, but for that 1 second, it was breathtaking. She smiled? It's actually really beautiful. Wait, this is not the time to be thinking about that. I shook my head, trying to force myself to calm down. What? What did you just say? I didn't hear you. I made one last, desperate attempt at denial. Aurora straightened up, resuming her Ice Queen posture as she looked down at me. I said, if you're so confident in Starlight Automotive, why don't you come to the board meeting and convince those old fossils yourself? She said the name Starlight, the name I had just invented in my head. That was it. There was no room left for denial. I deflated like a popped balloon and slumped back into the lounge chair in total defeat. Pointless, I mumbled. What's pointless? Everything, I said, giving up completely. You can hear everything anyway. You go tell them. Why do you need to drag me into it? This is so annoying. My one secret is out. It's like being naked in public. How am I supposed to act cool and mysterious now? How am I supposed to complain about everything in peace? My perfect slacker life. My source of joy. It's gone. My mind was wailing in despair. Aurora looked at my utterly defeated state, and a flicker of, was that sympathy, crossed her face. She sat down in the chair next to me, her voice softening. Ethan, this isn't just my company. It's yours too. The Vance and Sterling families each own 30% of Sterling Industries. We're partners. If this project succeeds, it will be a massive win for both of our families. I turned my head away, refusing to look at her. That's your business. I just want to fish. You know what to do anyway. It makes no difference whether I'm there or not. Just leave me alone and let me be a bum. Aurora was silent for a moment. Then she asked, her voice quiet, with a hint of a tremor I'd never heard before. Do you hate me? I froze. I turned back to look at her. Her head was bowed, her long eyelashes casting shadows on her cheeks. She looked almost vulnerable. Hate you? Not really. I just think you're too cold like a robot. No fun. But now, maybe you're not so boring after all, and you're gorgeous with a body that's... Well, if I really hated you, I wouldn't have had those thoughts in the cafe. I had barely finished the thought when I saw Aurora's ears turn a bright, furious red, the blush spreading down to her cheeks. She snapped her head up, glaring at me with a mixture of shame and anger. Ethan, can you please try to think about something professional for once? Me? Welp, this conversation was officially over. I finally understood. As long as I was around her, I had zero privacy. I surrendered. Fine. I'll go, all right? I'll go, I said, holding up my hands in defeat. But I have one condition. What is it? Aurora's eyes lit up. Tonight, I said, looking her straight in the eye, deliberately making it difficult. I want you to cook dinner for me. Yourself. Oof. You're a disaster in the making, aren't you? You can't even drink coffee properly. I want to see you try to cook. You'll probably create some culinary monstrosity, and then I'll finally have a reason to make fun of you and get a win back. I watched her, fully expecting her to refuse or get angry. But instead, Aurora just stared at me for a second, and then she gave a firm, serious nod. Okay, I promise. Her gaze was more earnest than I had ever seen it. Sterling Industries, top-floor boardroom. The atmosphere was so tense you could feel it. A group of board members, with a combined age of over 500 years, sat around the table, their faces etched with disapproval. I object, said an old, white-haired man, a distant relative from my family, named Walter Vance, notorious for being a conservative stick-in-the-mud. The electric vehicle sector requires massive investment with high risk. Our company was built on real estate and finance. A reckless move into a new industry could have catastrophic consequences. He's right, Ms. Sterling. You're still too young. Another director chimed in. I've heard about this Volt motor. It's just an empty shell on the verge of bankruptcy. Spending billions to acquire a failing company is absurd. Aurora sat at the head of the table, her face a mask of stone. This was all exactly as I had predicted in my head. She glanced at the person beside her. The man who was supposed to be the key player in this meeting was leaning back in his chair, eyes closed, his breathing deep and even. He was asleep. He had actually fallen asleep in the middle of a multi-billion-dollar board meeting. The other directors noticed, and looks of disdain and contempt spread across their faces. Look at him. This is the Vance family heir? A complete waste. Ms. Sterling really drew the short straw with a fiancé like him. Aurora's fingernails dug into her palms. But she didn't react because she could clearly hear my inner monologue. Ha! A bunch of old fools. Their vision is narrower than the eye of a needle. That old goat, Walter Vance. His son runs a company that makes parts for gas guzzlers. If the company goes electric, his son's business is toast. Of course he's going to object. And that other guy, Mr. Lee, he's been on Bradley Thorne's father's payroll for years. He's just here to stir up trouble. Honestly, Aurora, can't you see what's going on? Why are you even wasting your breath on them? Just slap the evidence of Walter's son's tax evasion on the table. Then throw down the bank statements showing Lee's bribes. Let's see if they dare to say another word after that. Sigh. Still too young. Not ruthless enough. I continued my silent commentary, sleeping soundly. At the head of the table, Aurora listened to my thoughts, and her eyes grew brighter and colder. So that's how it is. She took a deep breath and took 2 folders from her assistant. Slap. She threw the folders down on the conference table. The loud crack made everyone jump. Even I, in my sleep, winced. Director Vance. Aurora's gaze was as sharp as a knife, as she stared down Walter. Perhaps you should be more concerned with your son's company's tax problems. My sources tell me the IRS will be paying him a visit tomorrow. Walter Vance's face went white. A cold sweat beaded on his forehead. Aurora then turned to the other director. Director Lee, your secret account in Switzerland. Did you happen to receive a wire transfer for $5 million last week? From an account with the name Thorne? Director Lee slid out of his chair with a soft thud, his face ashen. The boardroom fell into a dead, shocked silence. Everyone was staring at Aurora as if she were a monster. When had this young CEO become so ruthless, so incredibly well-informed? Aurora scanned the room, her cold voice echoing in the silence. Now, does anyone else object to the acquisition of Volt Motor? Not a sound. Good. The motion passes unanimously. After she spoke, she glanced at me, still asleep beside her, her expression complex. This man, he had done nothing, and yet he had done everything. He was like a god hiding behind the scenes, controlling the entire game without lifting a finger. The meeting ended, and the board members scattered like frightened mice. Aurora walked over and gently nudged my shoulder. Hey, wake up. It's over. Huh? I groaned, opening my eyes sleepily. Oh, it's done? What happened? I asked, pretending to be completely clueless. Keep acting, Aurora thought with a flash of annoyance, but her face remained impassive. It passed. Oh, great. Can I go now? I've got dinner plans. At the mention of dinner, Aurora's expression became a little stiff. I don't go back on my promises, she said, her voice a little rigid. Come to my place after work. Without waiting for my reply, she turned and walked away, her heels clicking briskly on the marble floor. I watched her slightly flustered retreat, and a smile I couldn't contain spread across my face. A home-cooked meal by the disastrously domestic Ice Queen. I couldn't wait to see if it would be a pleasant surprise or a hilarious catastrophe. At 7 o'clock sharp, I arrived at the entrance to Aurora's penthouse. It was a stunning, minimalist space occupying the top 3 floors of a skyscraper overlooking Central Park, with tight security and extreme privacy. I rang the bell, and the door was opened by Aurora herself. She was wearing a pink apron with a cartoon rabbit on it. The image was so jarring, so utterly out of character, that my brain momentarily shut down. I would bet my entire fortune that no one in her company, no one in the world, had ever seen the great Ice Queen, Aurora, sterling looking like this. Ha ha ha, a pink bunny apron. What the hell? It clashes so horribly with her ice-cold face. Is this what they call Mo? Oh my God, is she secretly into cute stuff? This is hilarious. I'm dying. I was roaring with laughter on the inside, but I managed to keep my face straight, affecting a look of deep curiosity. Aurora's face was so red it was practically glowing. She shot me a death glare and stepped aside to let me in. What are you looking at? Have you never seen someone wear an apron before? I have. I answered honestly. Just not you. As I stepped inside, my nose was assaulted by an indescribable smell. It was something like burnt charcoal mixed with the acrid stench of some chemical agent. My heart sank. Don't tell me. That smell. Did the kitchen explode? I rushed toward the kitchen area. The scene that greeted me made my jaw drop. The once pristine, state-of-the-art open-plan kitchen now looked like a war zone. The counters were a mess of vegetable scraps and mysterious liquids. One pot was overturned on the floor, its contents a black, unrecognizable sludge. Another pot was still on the stove, billowing thick black smoke. Beep, beep, beep. The smoke alarm shrieked. And in the middle of it all was our great CEO, holding a spatula and staring blankly at the smoking pot. Her beautiful face was smudged with black ash, making her look like a sad, lost kitten. This wasn't just a bad cook. This was a kitchen terminator. I sprinted past her, turned off the stove, flipped on the powerful vent hood, and threw open a window. The motions were smooth and practiced. Aurora stood by, watching my efficient rescue operation, completely stunned. How do you know how to? I'll have to make it myself. If I didn't, were you planning on burning the building down? I shot her an exasperated look. Good Lord, how has this woman survived this long? With her skills, she'd have starved to death if she lived alone. All right. Can't count on her. My dinner. Looks like I'll have to make it myself. I sighed, rolled up my sleeves, and started to clean up the disaster. Aurora stood beside me like a child who had been scolded, fidgeting and wanting to help, but having no idea where to start. I'm sorry, she whispered. You think? I grumbled, scrubbing at the burnt pot. Ms. Sterling, do you have some kind of fundamental misunderstanding of the concept of cooking? Aurora's head drooped even lower, her voice thick with misery. It was my first time. My scrubbing motions paused. First time? She did this. To cook a meal for me? Something in my chest pricked, a soft, strange feeling. I didn't say anything else, just quietly finished cleaning the kitchen. Then, I opened the refrigerator. It was fully stocked with top-of-the-line ingredients. Wagyu beef, Australian lobster, organic vegetables. TSK. Rich people. What a shame, all this good stuff wasted by her. I picked out a few simple ingredients, planning to make a few classic dishes. What are you making? Aurora asked, creeping closer. Mac and cheese from scratch, a perfectly seared steak, a classic Caesar salad, and a creamy tomato soup, I said offhandedly. All simple comfort foods. For a princess like her, who's never known hardship, fancy food means nothing. You have to hit her with the simple, home-cooked stuff to win her over. Aurora watched as I expertly chopped and sautéed, her eyes growing brighter and brighter. She had never imagined that a man in a kitchen could look so captivating. The vent hood hummed, the pan sizzled, and soon the delicious aroma of cooking food replaced the burnt smell, filling the entire kitchen. The scent of a real, home-cooked meal filled the cold, empty penthouse, making it feel like a home for the very first time. Aurora was completely mesmerized. She didn't snap out of it until I placed the last dish on the table. Stop staring, you're going to drool. Go get the plates and silverware. Time to eat. Aurora came back to reality with a start, her face blushing. She obediently mumbled an "oh" and turned to set the table, looking for all the world like a docile little wife. At the dinner table, the atmosphere was a little strange. The 4 dishes were simple, everyday food, but they smelled incredible and looked perfect. Aurora sat across from me, taking small, elegant bites, but her pace was surprisingly fast. She was clearly starving. Slow down. No one's going to steal it from you. You look like a little kitten who hasn't eaten in 3 days. The thought had just crossed my mind when Aurora's hand froze mid-bite, her cheeks flushing again. She looked up and shot me an annoyed glare. I was used to it by now. I calmly ladled a bowl of tomato soup for her. Have some soup. It's good for your stomach. Looking at the state of her kitchen, she probably hasn't eaten all day. A workaholic stomach needs to be taken care of. Aurora took the bowl, her head bowed, and whispered, "Thank you." Her voice was missing its usual iciness, replaced by a warmth I could almost feel. I'll admit it. In that moment, my heart skipped a beat. Maybe this woman wasn't so bad after all. After dinner, I collapsed onto the living room sofa, as was my right. I cook, you clean. Fair's fair, right? Aurora looked at the messy kitchen, then at her own perfectly manicured $500 nails, and fell silent. Her do the dishes? I have a better chance of seeing a pig fly. She probably doesn't even know how to use a dishwasher. I had just finished that thought when I heard Aurora mutter, "Where's the power button on the dishwasher?" Me? Fine. I'll do it. As I walked resignedly toward the kitchen, Aurora suddenly called my name. Ethan. What? I turned back. She was standing in the soft light of the living room, her expression hesitant, but she finally found her courage. Thank you. For today. She meant the board meeting, and she meant the dinner. And I am sorry. That apology was probably for her earlier assumptions, and for today's kitchen catastrophe. I looked at her. It was the first time she had ever so formally thanked me or apologized. Under the warm light, her face was soft, her eyes sincere. She no longer looked like the untouchable Ice Queen CEO, but more like a normal girl, one who could make mistakes and feel guilty about them. It's fine. Forget about it, I said, waving my hand as I walked into the kitchen. Why is she being all sentimental? It's weird, but seeing as she's being so sincere, I guess I can forgive her for stealing my land deal. For now, I washed the dishes in the kitchen, and Aurora just leaned against the doorframe, watching me quietly. The atmosphere was peaceful and surprisingly comfortable. Just then, my phone rang. It was a video call from Chloe. My hand were covered in soap, so I wedged the phone between my shoulder and ear and answered it. Chloe's smiling, beautiful face filled the screen. Ethan, what are you doing? The dishes, I said. Wow, you do chores too? You're the perfect husband material. Whoever marries you is going to be the luckiest woman in the world. Chloe exclaimed dramatically. I chuckled, about to reply, but I felt the temperature around me suddenly plummet. I turned my head and saw Aurora staring daggers at my phone screen, a look so intense it could have set it on fire. Her lips were pressed into a thin, hard line. She was radiating waves of I am not happy. Ooh, is she jealous? You could smell the jealousy from a mile away. A mischievous idea popped into my head. I deliberately said to Chloe on the screen, "You're too kind, Chloe. I'll have to cook for you sometime." Really? I'll hold you to that. The words were barely out of my mouth when a hand reached over and ended the call. It was Aurora. She hung up on Chloe, took the phone from my shoulder, and placed it on the counter. Then, she did something that completely stunned me. She wrapped her arms around my waist from behind. She rested her cheek gently against my back. My entire body went stiff. I could feel the soft curves of her body pressed against me, the startling warmth seeping through the thin fabric of my shirt. Ethan, her voice, muffled against my back, was a strange mix of petulance and possessiveness. From now on, you're only allowed to cook for me. I stood frozen, my mind a complete blank. The soft warmth in my back, the possessive, almost desperate declaration in my ear. It was like a depth charge going off in my soul. Whoa, what is happening? Is she making a move? Claiming her territory? Aurora Sterling, your character is completely collapsing. Where did the Ice Queen CEO go? Did you eat her? I could feel the body pressed against my back, trembling slightly. She was nervous, too. This was probably the boldest, most out-of-character thing she had ever done in her life. My mind was a chaotic mess. I had no idea how to react. Push her away? That seemed too harsh. Don't push her away? This was way too intimate. While I was having this internal battle, Aurora seemed to realize what she'd done. As if electrocuted, she let go and stumbled back a few steps. Her face was so red it looked like it was on fire. That's not what I meant, she explained, her words a jumbled mess. I just meant that your cooking is really good, and I don't want anyone else to eat it. The explanation was worse than no explanation at all. It was a classic case of protesting too much. I turned around and saw her standing there, so flustered and embarrassed she didn't know what to do with her hands. I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. So this is what the Ice Queen looks like when she's jealous. It's actually kind of cute. Aurora heard my thought, and her face got even redder. She stomped her foot. Don't you dare laugh. She was like an angry kitten, claws out, but with absolutely no menace. Okay, I'm not laughing, I said, trying to suppress my grin as I held my hands up in surrender. The atmosphere shifted from intense and intimate to something lighter, more playful. I can wash the dishes, Aurora offered, desperate to change the subject. I glanced at her, then at the sink. I'll pass. I'm afraid you'll demolish my kitchen. I quickly finished the last of the dishes, dried my hands, and walked out of the kitchen. Aurora was still standing awkwardly in the living room. It's late. I could drive you home, she offered. No need, I drove. Oh, an awkward silence fell between us again. Without my inner monologue to fill the gaps, it seemed we didn't know how to talk to each other. Well, I'm heading out, I said, breaking the silence. Okay. I walked to the entryway, put on my shoes, and had my hand on the doorknob. Ethan, she called my name again. I turned back. She stood a few feet away, her eyes filled with a hopeful uncertainty. Tomorrow, are you coming back? She asked so quietly, so carefully. I looked at her. My mind flashed with images of her in the ridiculous bunny apron, her panicked clumsiness in the kitchen, her possessive and adorable jealousy. And now, this look of timid hope. This woman, it seemed she was slowly, piece by piece, revealing her softest, most genuine self to me. And it was all because she could hear my thoughts. Because she had heard the real me, the one hiding behind the Playboy facade, the one who saw everything but just wanted to chill. Maybe being with her wouldn't be so bad after all. Maybe adding an interesting, beautiful roommate to my grand plan for a lazy life wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. An idea sparked in my mind. I gave her a real, genuine smile. Of course I am. Why wouldn't I? Im kreving pod ruast tomorrow. Make sure you buy a chuck roast ahead of time. And please, stay out of the kitchen. I'm too young to die. Without waiting for her reaction, I opened the door and walked out. Behind me, Aurora stood frozen in place. A few seconds later, a brilliant, radiant smile bloomed on her face. It was a smile like the first thaw of spring, so beautiful it could make the whole world pale in comparison. From that day on, my relationship with Aurora entered a strange new phase. My daily routine shifted from eat, sleep, game to eat, sleep, tease Aurora. Yes, Aurora. After another incident where she blushed at one of my inner thoughts, I decided to just drop the formality and call her by her first name. Calling her Miss Sterling is too distant. Aurora is much better. She's going to be my wife eventually. Might as well get used to it. When Aurora heard that thought, she nearly snapped the expensive pen in her hand, but the deep blush that spread all the way to her ears gave away her true feelings. So the name stuck. In return, she started calling me Ethan again, but without the coldness. We hadn't officially defined our relationship, but we were more intimate than most couples. Every day after work, not that I did much, I'd report to her penthouse to cook dinner. She'd follow me around like a little shadow, handing me plates or spices, though she still occasionally caused minor disasters, like mistaking the salt for sugar. My dear, are you trying to kill me with sodium so you can inherit my billions? It was an accident, she'd argue, her face red. After dinner, I'd lounge on the sofa and watch TV, and she'd sit on the rug nearby, her head resting against my leg as she worked on company files. The scene was unbelievably domestic. At her company, the employees were going insane. They noticed that their perpetually frosty, ruthlessly efficient CEO had changed. She would stare at her phone and smile for no reason. During meetings, she would gaze off into space and suddenly blush. Once, a few employees were gossiping in the break room about a new cute anime figurine, and Ms. Sterling walked by, stopped, and actually asked, "Where can I buy one?" The entire company was gripped by a quiet panic, convinced their boss had been replaced by an alien. And I, the cause of it all, remained a humble, hidden mastermind. My life of ultimate slacking became even easier with my Aurora-shaped cheat code. I'd occasionally wander into the office, take a nap during a meeting, and think a few critical thoughts. The next day, Sterling Industries stock would soar. Ethan Vance didn't get out of bed today became a bizarre, almost mythical indicator in the financial world. As long as I was lazy, the company was making money. Countless investors would leave comments on my social media, begging me not to start working hard. Me? Do you people have any manners? One day, Chloe sent me another video call. She was a guest on a celebrity cooking show. "Ethan, help me," she cried as soon as the call connected. "What's wrong?" I was lounging on the lawn of Aurora's penthouse, soaking up the sun while she read a book nearby. The theme for this week's show is a dish that reminds you of home. I can't cook anything. The taping is next week. I'm going to make a total fool of myself. Home. That's a good theme. An idea came to me. "Don't worry, I'll teach you." "Really? Oh, thank you." I started verbally walking her through a recipe. It's a sophisticated dish, basically an elevated chicken velvet. The process is complicated, but the meaning is perfect. It's all about warmth and family. I was getting into it, completely oblivious to the fact that the woman reading beside me had stopped turning pages. She looked calm, but the white-knuckled grip she had on her book betrayed the storm brewing inside. Finally, you gently poach the chicken mousse in warm oil until it sets. Then you pour over a sauce made from rich chicken stock, prosciutto, and scallops. Got it. Got it. Ethan, you're a genius. That's like Michelin star level. I love you. Chloe squealed on the other end. "Stop fooling around and go practice," I said with a laugh before hanging up. I turned my head and met Aurora's gaze. Her eyes were as deep and stormy as the ocean. "Chicken velvet?" she asked softly, her voice unreadable. "Sounds like a very thoughtful dish." My heart skipped a beat. Oh crap. I was so busy showing off, I forgot about the giant vat of vinegar sitting next to me. The jealousy is so thick you could cut it with a knife. It's just something I know," I said, feeling guilty. Aurora didn't reply. She just closed her book, stood up, and looked down at me. "Ethan, you've never made me anything that complicated." Her voice was level, but beneath the surface, I could feel a tidal wave of emotion. Every day I get mac and cheese or steak and salad. So, in your mind, is that all I'm worthy of? For the love of God, that's because you have a sensitive stomach. You can only eat simple, comforting foods. I'm doing it for your own good. You crazy woman. I wanted desperately to explain, but I couldn't. My character persona was the effortlessly cool, lazy genius who couldn't be bothered to explain himself. I looked into her eyes, which were brimming with hurt and disappointment, and felt a pang of helplessness. This mind-reading thing had its downsides. It let her know my true intentions, but it couldn't explain the things I didn't actively think about. It's not what you think, I finally said, my voice a little hoarse. Aurora just looked at me, her expression growing even more wounded. Sigh. Women. It's for her own good, and she's still mad. All right. My wife, my problem. I sighed and sat up, taking her hand. It was cold. Is the mac and cheese not good? I asked. She pursed her lips, saying nothing. You don't like the steak? She still didn't answer, just turned her head away. So, I'll make you the chicken velvet tomorrow. I asked tentatively. Her head snapped back, a spark of light in her eyes that quickly faded. That's the dish you taught Chloe, she mumbled. Great. Now she's jealous of a recipe. I was completely out of ideas. I rubbed my temples in frustration. Fina, you're right, it's all my fault, I said, surrendering completely. So what do you want? Just tell me. I'll do whatever you want. Aurora looked at my exasperated but indulgent expression, and the little bit of hurt she felt vanished in a thin air. But she wasn't going to let me off that easily. A mischievous glint appeared in her eye, and a sly smile played on her lips. I want you to make me a dish. A unique dish just for me. And it has to be more complicated, more delicious, and more meaningful than the one you taught Chloe. Me? This woman. She's learned how to bargain. Give her an inch, and she takes a mile. I looked at her hopeful, expectant face and felt a mix of annoyance and amusement. Fina, you got it, I said. What else could I do? I was wrapped around her little finger, but I have a condition too. What is it? I pulled her down to sit beside me on the grass, then leaned in close to her ear and whispered something. Aurora's face exploded in a blush that started at her cheeks and spread all the way down her neck. She shot up like a startled rabbit and pushed me away. Ethan Vance, you're a pig. She threw the insult over her shoulder and fled into the house, abandoning her expensive limited edition book on the lawn. I watched her hasty retreat, a wide grin spreading across my face. What I had said was, when I make it, you have to promise to sneak your parents' household register out so we can go get married. A week later, Chloe's cooking show aired live. Her chicken velvet dish wowed the judges and the entire audience. This dish shows incredible skill and heart. Chloe, can you tell us who taught you how to make it? One of the judges asked. Chloe smiled sweetly. It was someone very important to me. He taught me that the real taste of home comes from the heart, not from expensive ingredients. The online comments exploded with gossip about Chloe's mystery man. Meanwhile, in Aurora's penthouse, I was presenting her with her unique dish. It didn't have a name. It looked like a painting. On a warm, white jade plate, a small, exquisite house was sculpted from a clear, amber-colored consommé gelée. The house was surrounded by tiny, lifelike flowers and blades of grass, all carved from different vegetables. But the most incredible part was that a warm, orange glow emanated from the windows of the tiny house. It was a tiny light made from a puree of pumpkin and egg yolk. Aurora was too stunned to speak. I call it our home, I said, looking into her eyes. The house is my hope for our future. The flowers are your favorite kind. And the light in the window means that no matter how late you come home, I'll always leave a light on for you. Aurora's eyes instantly filled with tears. Come on, you silly woman, cry. If you cry, I have an excuse to hold you. The thought had barely crossed my mind. Tears, like broken pearls, began to stream down Aurora's face. She couldn't hold back anymore. She threw herself into my arms. Ethan, you jerk, she sobbed, pounding her small fist against my chest. I held her tightly, the feeling of her warm, soft body in my arms grounding me. Okay, don't cry. The food's getting cold. I don't care, she mumbled into my chest. I tilted her chin up and kissed the tears from her eyes. Then I kissed her soft lips. This time, she didn't pull away. She responded, clumsily, but with a passion that took my breath away. It was a long, tender kiss, full of love and certainty. When we finally broke apart, we looked at each other and smiled. "So," I said, my voice raspy as I looked at her tear-stained eyes and swollen lips. "Do you agree to my condition?" Aurora's face turned red again. She buried her face in my chest, her voice as soft as a whisper. "Yes." The very next day, I dragged Aurora to City Hall. It was shockingly easy. She had actually managed to steal the necessary documents from her parents' safe. When we walked out with our marriage license in hand, Aurora still looked a little dazed. "We're married? What, you having second thoughts?" I asked, waving the license with a triumphant grin. "Too late to back out now, Aurora Sterling. You're stuck with me for life." Aurora heard my thought, and instead of getting mad, her eyes crinkled into a beautiful smile. She took my hand, lacing her fingers through mine. "No second thoughts," she said, her gaze firm and full of love. "Never." Her smile was brighter than the afternoon sun. We didn't have a big wedding, but the people who needed to know knew. Our parents were ecstatic. My father, upon learning that not only had I not broken the engagement, but had actually married the business prodigy Aurora Sterling and was now helping her take Sterling Industries to new heights, was so happy he couldn't stop grinning. He immediately transferred more company shares into my name, calling it a wedding gift. Aurora's parents were even more thrilled. Her mother held my hands, her eyes filled with tears of joy. "Ethan, our Aurora has always been so serious, carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. We were so worried she would never find someone. Thank you for seeing the softness beneath her icy exterior." "Thank you." I looked at Aurora, who was blushing beside me, and smiled. "Don't worry, Mom. I've got her now." The word Mom made her mother beam. Aurora looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. But where there was joy, there was also sorrow. When Chloe found out we were married, she was silent on the phone for a long time. Finally, she said with genuine sincerity, "Congratulations, Ethan. And you too, Aura. You'll find your happiness too, Chloe," I told her. For example, the main character from the novel, the Dragon King, he should be showing up pretty soon, right? After I hung up, Aurora was looking at me with a strange, calculating expression. "The Dragon King?" Just a character from a book I read," I said quickly. "Oh, and in that book, was I the pathetic, evil side character you were destined to simp for until you had nothing left?" she asked, her eyes narrowing into a dangerous, smiling slit. "Me? How'd she know that? What did I ever think about that?" "Did you forget?" Aurora said, tapping her temple. "You thought it the very first time we met." "Me? Crap. My dark history had been exposed. My survival instincts kicked in. I dropped to one knee, took her hand, and looked up at her with the most profound sincerity I could muster. "My love, in my heart, you're not a side character. You are, and always will be, my one and only leading lady." Aurora was so taken aback by my sudden, dramatic move that she stared at me for a second, then burst out laughing. She pulled me up and gave me a quick kiss on the cheek. "All right, since you're so good with words, I'll forgive you. For now." I breathed a sigh of relief. Married life, it seemed, was going to be full of its own unique surprises and challenges. Married life was even better than I had imagined. I stuck to my master plan of ultimate laziness. I wake up late, cook, work out, and spend the rest of my time with my wife. As for the company, I only needed to offer some mental guidance whenever Aurora hit a snag. She would always perfectly grasp my strategic intent and execute it flawlessly. We were the perfect team, one in the spotlight, one in the shadows. Under our joint leadership, the value of Sterling Industries skyrocketed, becoming a legend in the business world. And my reputation as the mysterious Oracle Ethan Vance grew. Though no one could ever figure out how a man who spent his days fishing and napping could have such a terrifyingly accurate read on the market. One evening, Sterling Industries held its anniversary gala. As the CEO's husband, my attendance was mandatory. I wore a tailored suit, Aurora on my arm, looking absolutely radiant. The moment we walked in, all eyes were on us. Aurora was wearing a starlight blue evening gown. She looked so elegant, so beautiful, it was breathtaking. "You look incredible tonight, honey," I said, and I meant it. "So incredible, I want to take you home right now." And editor's note, a full page of descriptive, non-work appropriate thoughts have been redacted. A blush crept up Aurora's cheeks. She discreetly pinched the soft flesh at my waist. "We're in public. Behave yourself," she whispered, her voice a warning. I just grinned and squeezed her hand. Throughout the evening, countless people came up to us to offer congratulations and talk business. I played the part of the handsome, silent arm Candy perfectly, a polite smile fixed on my face, not saying a word. Aurora handled all the complex, schmoozing with effortless grace. Yep, a wife like this is all a man needs. I can now officially retire in peace. Halfway through the night, I slipped away to the restroom. On my way back, I overheard a few female employees gossiping. The CEO's husband is seriously handsome. He looks like a movie star. Handsome, so what? He's just a trophy husband. Did you see him? He didn't say a single word all night. He's clearly an idiot who knows nothing. I know, right? Such a waste of a good face. I feel so bad for Ms. Sterling. A god is stuck with a useless freeloader. I touched my nose, completely unbothered. Freeloader? Come on, be more creative. This freeloader is the premium-grade organic fertilizer that makes the goddess bloom. I was about to walk away when a familiar figure stepped in front of the gossiping women. It was Aurora. She must have followed me. Her face was a mask of cold fury. "The three of you, pack your desks tomorrow. You're fired." The women turned pale with terror. Ms. Sterling. "My husband," Aurora said, her voice quiet but ringing with absolute authority and fierce protectiveness, "is the best, most brilliant man in the world. You are not worthy of speaking his name." She turned, walked over to me, and took my hand, pulling me back to the center of the ballroom. Then, in front of everyone, she picked up a microphone. The entire hall fell silent. "I'd like to take this opportunity to properly introduce all of you to my husband, Ethan Vance." She looked at me, her eyes shining with love and pride. "The success you see at Sterling Industries today, every brilliant investment you've envied, every crisis we've miraculously averted, none of it was my achievement alone. The true mastermind has always been him. I, Aurora Sterling, am merely the weapon he wields." A collective gasp went through the crowd. Everyone stared at me as if they were seeing a ghost. And I just looked at the woman under the spotlight, the woman who, just to defend my honor, was willing to give me all the credit for her hard work. And my heart swelled with a love so profound it almost hurt. "You silly woman, what are you talking about? Without you, my ideas would just be thoughts. You're the one who made them real. We're a team, each other's greatest strength." Hearing my thoughts, Aurora's eyes welled up with tears, but the smile on her lips grew even brighter. In front of the entire world, she stood on her tiptoes and pressed a soft, gentle kiss to my lips. "I love you, Ethan. I love you too, Aurora," I whispered, pulling her into a tight embrace. Under the spotlight, we held each other. I knew then that I hadn't been reborn into this book to be a side character. I was here to meet her, to fall in love with her, and to spend the rest of my life with her, living my dream. Yes, the dream of winning at life, without ever leaving my lounge chair. End.